got a very, very special guest in the building, USMNT legend, and also one of my favorite reporters, Stu Holden, man.
What's
How
up?
you doing
What's
today,
up?
man?
I'm happy to be here. I don't want to get caught in the middle of Rondo, so I'm going to stay on the outside, keep it simple, keep the ball moving.
How do you even get invested in Mallorca? Like, what's the process like? Because we're seeing a lot of celebrity ownership. We're seeing Tom Brady. We're seeing Caitlin Clark. We're seeing everybody be invested in the game in some way. What was your story?
Well, I think everybody's recognizing that sports are still in a changing landscape with technology and AI, and people spending so much more time on their screens. Sports are still a unifier, and they bring people together. And I'm still super bullish on the long-term prospect of sports. So that's an easy reason why a lot of smart money and people are investing in sports. Mine was so random. I mean, I was a player. I got into broadcasting. Steve Nash is my best friend, legend in basketball, but also a renowned soccer fan. And we became very close in LA. We used to play in a pickup soccer game a couple times a week that involved names that you wouldn't believe. Alessandro Del Piero, Trezeguet, you name it.
What was my invite at?
Melchia, it's like
Okay.
it used to be the great lore of American soccer,
Sorry
the
to cut
pickup
you
game.
off. Can Steve Nash hold his own in
He's a
that
baller.
league?
He could have played pro for sure.
Really?
Yeah. That's not the first time I've heard that.
Depending on how many beers we've had, it'll depend on the level I will be willing to give him. He thinks he could have played Premier League. No chance, Steve. Sorry, buddy. You're a great athlete,
But like USL, MLS level.
Oh yeah. Steve.
Okay.
Well, his brother was a professional soccer player as well. He's actually a coach now. So he has soccer in his family. I mean, it's in his blood. He was a baller.
Okay.
So anyways, he got a call from the owners of the Phoenix Suns, Robert Sarver and Andy Kohlberg, and they were looking to buy a European soccer team. And so they called Steve. They said, we'd love to have you a part of the group from what you bring from not just the celebrity aspect, but also from he has just an understanding of what it takes to be a high-level athlete and a winner and a winning mentality and all those things. So anyway, Steve was like, hey, I think we should bring in my good friend who has actually played soccer in Europe and has an understanding of the business and the soccer over there, and would you guys be willing to take a meeting? So we all met for a dinner, and at that point it was offered for me the opportunity to invest, and I don't think you get the opportunity to invest in a professional soccer team, let alone, at that time we hadn't even identified Mallorca, so it was just like, we're going to go do due diligence and try to find a club in Europe. And so that's kind of how it started, and I committed to writing a check and then being an advisor and through this whole journey, and it's been a heck of a journey. That was 10 years ago.
For sure. So you don't have to reveal a whole list, right? But why Spanish football in particular? Because that interests me, because you see American ownership everywhere, but why Spain?
It's a good question. We looked inevitably, as you would, and you get to the UK, we looked in Scotland, we looked in England. I think the idea of the English ladder is pretty appealing because you see the stories of the clubs that get to the Premier League. The Premier League is the best marketed league in the world, and it also is the highest revenue, biggest TV deals, and some of the biggest clubs in the world. So inevitably, you want to be a part of that exclusive club. But we quickly recognized that there's opportunity outside of the UK, and also the UK market is tough. Like the valuations that were being placed on some of these championship clubs, or if you want to start in League One in the third division, the reality of what you actually have to spend, but also the risk of spending that money and not getting to the Premier League, or getting to the Premier League and getting relegated, it was pretty costly when we did our analysis. The other big reason why we pushed towards the Spanish league and ultimately ended on Mallorca is that La Liga, if you look back over the past 15, 20 years, actually La Liga teams, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, had fared better than most Premier League teams and any other team in Europe in the European competitions, consistently winning Champions League, consistently winning Europa League. So we felt like the quality of football in itself was very good. It's actually a very big country, Spain. It's very well supported. Their national team is one of the best in the world. They have some of the best young players. But then more importantly, they recognize what also the Premier League was doing in making the playing field more level from a TV rights perspective. Before that, it had been only Barcelona, Real Madrid were making, 90% more than any other team.
Right.
And by the way, those are the teams that most people want to watch. But they also recognize that the lower teams need to get more money to be able to spend, to get better players, to attract better players, and therefore raise the quality of the league. And so they made a big change. It's had a huge impact. And so we landed on Mallorca at the end of the day. And it wasn't a hard sell when you go visit Mallorca. You can see the
Mallorca's a vibe.
Have you been?
No, I haven't been there, but I have some friends who have, and they had a great time.
There you go.
That's for
yeah,
sure.
You're our best advocate.
Oh, for sure, man. With Mallorca obviously being such a big club in Spanish football, historically been amazing. They have players like Samuel Eto'o, Danny Guiza, like all these players in their history.
As we've even done with Mallorca, it's been a very difficult tightrope that you're walking to stay true and honor the traditions of the past, because that is very important to people. European soccer is truly religion. These people have supported this club for hundreds of years. They identify with the club. The club is a representation of the people. From our perspective, it was to add a little bit of American entertainment and hospitality, and not like coming in and saying, this is how we're going to do it and this is how we're going to be successful. I want to, as an American soccer fan, see MLS grow and rise and more fans of MLS. I think what I've also realized here in this country, we have 330 million people. I wouldn't even say we've converted a third of those yet into soccer fans. It's probably actually way lower. I'm talking like hardcore fans that are going to watch the game every weekend, are going to support multiple teams, are going to go to their local markets. We're still, I feel, on the club level, a regional market, and we haven't developed that national interest like NFL or maybe the NBA and baseball. There's a lot of soccer right now, and that's actually part of my concern as an American soccer fan, is there's just too much soccer to consume, and that we can't, and I mean that in that we can't give the attention that is needed towards certain events, and people, you create a market confusion. So that's what I mean by more. I want as much soccer as possible, but I'm trying to also bring in sports fans of friends of mine who don't like soccer, and then they're like, what does this tournament mean? What does that game mean? Why does this one mean more? And I find myself scratching my head of like, I just want it to be easy and digestible and understandable. And that's what the World Cup does ultimately.
And then what do you tell your mates who are a bit unsure about soccer? What's your pitch? And it's not just, I used to play it a lot.
Yeah. I say go to a game. The soccer fan environment is very unique. I think the only closest comparison in American sports is college sports and college football.
Sorry to cut you off, but someone in our office, if they heard this, is just about to scream. we have a co-worker who will die on the hill that college football is like a better atmosphere than soccer.
I think it depends where you go.
Sorry. Continue.
Like, I would take that person. I mean, maybe they're talking about like, was when they do. There's a ton of amazing college football.
Alabama.
Oh, Alabama. I'm a
Clemson
guy. Yeah,
of course. You know what I'm saying? Gotta show love.
Yeah, but take those fans to like go stand in the wall at Dortmund and or even just here in LAFC in my backyard in LA. Come and watch a game in the 3252 in LA and experience that environment and that intensity and that passion. And I think soccer is a sport that's consumed better live. You really do get a feel for the speed, how much these athletes run, but then also the way that the fans truly fanatically like that is their team and they will support it till they're dead. One
more before we end the segment, actually. There's a lot of American players, Canadian players specifically, playing in La Liga now. Before when I was in college soccer even 10 years ago, that wouldn't even be the case. I think Josie Altidore to this day still is like one of the only players from America to play in La Liga. Have you ever yourself, like with your, obviously you're part of Mallorca and you would love to ideally see an American someday playing for Mallorca. Have you guys ever thought about, having an American player play at the club or to kind of, help infiltrate the American market? Is that something that's been discussed?
This is a pretty fascinating conversation that probably could do an entire podcast on this. But I think about myself as a player when I went to England. I got more of an opportunity as an American to not be like, white labeled as a certain level of player because Americans had gone there and succeeded. So then they see Americans succeed and then all of a sudden they start to think, these American players might be a little better. You get more opportunities. Before that was never even viewed as a possibility. I think what you've also seen now is we have some really good young players, and I'm not trying to discount what their quality as players at all, but I do think American players have been commercialized a little bit more than they have in the past at some of these bigger clubs, because these bigger clubs want to inevitably make inroads in the United States in the commercial market. So I'm not saying that Christian Pulisic's only at AC Milan because of that, but I'm saying that it helps that he is a very big commercial asset in the US. Lots of kids are going to be buying Pulisic jerseys. That wasn't the case back in our day. It wasn't as accessible. It wasn't as big. It wasn't as TV as much. There wasn't as much emphasis for those Italian or Spanish or La Liga clubs in our case to be in the American market. We had that perfect example. We had Take Kubo, who's one of the really exciting young players in Japan. He was at Mallorca. Our social media followers the next day jumped exponentially. We became the #1 watched team TV-wise in Japan.
That's insane.
And then those fans, when he left and went back to Real Sociedad, they didn't leave, they stayed. And they stayed fans. And now we've signed Asano, who's another Japanese player. He's a very good player. He plays all the time. He's not playing because he's Japanese and we're going to sell more shirts and we have a Japanese sponsor. he's playing because he's a good player, but commercially he really helps us. So would I love an American? We had an American in our academy. We had Matthew Hoppe that briefly,
my boy, yeah.
but he didn't really, break
Yeah.
into the first team. And I would love to see us sign some more young American players. That I think we're an American ownership group, so of course. So I'm always advocating. I'm like, hey, you guys want to come to my? I send young American players. So if anyone out there, every MLS game or every game I cover, I'm constantly shooting stuff to our scouts and our sporting directors of, hey, keep an eye on this player, keep an eye on this guy. I really like this guy. If we could get this guy, but the problem being the young American players now to go to Europe are actually really expensive.
Yeah, man. They're going to the bigger clubs early, man. We see with Kevin Sullivan, even like Jameer Johnson, who was part of Philadelphia Union. They're leaving quick and they're going quick. But hey, man, MLS next kids, if you see Stu Holden on the sideline, he might just be scouting.
Taking notes.
Yeah.